Welcome to the Lyster Health Talks podcast. Listen in as the team focuses on relevant, relatable health content that empowers your health and the readiness of the force. We are officially clearing the runway for a special mini-series dedicated entirely to aviation medicine. Over the next few episodes, we're diving into the critical role aviation medicine plays in keeping our pilots and crews mission ready and showing you exactly how our care keeps you in the air. Let's prep for takeoff as we talk aviation medicine here at Fort Rucker, the home of Army Aviation.
Welcome to the Aviation Medicine mini-series from Lyster Health Talks. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Leah Steder, the Director and Commander of Lyster Army Health Clinic and the host of the Lyster Health Talks podcast. In this Aviation Medicine mini-series, we'll sit down with experts who help keep Army aviation flying, from flight surgeons to behavioral health professionals to physical therapists. Together, we're going to discuss topics that impact readiness, performance, and the long-term health of our aviation force. Whether you're new to Army aviation, looking to join aviation, you're in the cockpit, on the flight line, or supporting the mission behind the scenes, this series is for you. So buckle up and join us as we explore what it takes to be healthy, resilient, ready for whatever comes next. After all, our care keeps them in the air. For our first episode in this aviation mini-series, we're going to talk about when to start your flight physical, and the key takeaway is don't wait. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Liz Johnson-Bailey.
Hi, I'm Liz Johnson-Bailey. I'm an aerospace medicine physician assistant. I have been at Lyster for 16 years. I am now at the Aeromedical activity and review flight physicals. I love aviation medicine, not so much the flying part because I'm not a great pilot, but I'm a much better medical provider.
Ms. Johnson-Bailey, what is the biggest mistake people make when preparing for a flight physical?
Okay, so first of all, let's start with brand new applicants. If you are someone who says wants to go to flight school or you want to put in an application, I have a completely non-aviation related job, you want to start a minimum of 6 months prior to your anticipated acceptance date. I recommend a year. It is going to be a minimum of 3 months before a physical is reviewed from the time it's submitted and put through the administrative processes. It may take 2 months for you to get your workup complete. So start at least 6 months prior. If you are a rated aviator or you are already in the aviation pipeline, you have wings, you're a crew member, you're an ATC, you have what's called a birth month window. That birth month window starts 2 months prior to your birthday. And surprise, your birthday's the same day every year of your life. It has never changed. So if your birthday is in August, your birth month window starts in June, 2 months prior to your birthday. Your physical expires on the last day of your birth month for people who are in the aviation pipeline already. So you start your physical when that birth month window starts. That helps mitigate any timeline problems in getting all of the things accomplished you need for that physical. It's also good for health prevention because as we get older, there's other health screenings that have to be done. You have women's exams, you have colonoscopies, things like that. If you never forget when your birth month is and you know, oh, hey, I'm turning this age and I need this screening, and then you know, oh, okay, at age 45, sometime before my birth month, I need to get that screening done. And then 3 years later, like, oh, when did I get that done? It was around my birth month. Happy birthday to you. Get your screenings and your physical done.
Can you tell us how our ROTC cadets might seek out flight physicals?
So ROTC cadets generally get flight physicals during their summer camps associated with their schools. We will once in a while see an ROTC cadet that actually is a dependent of someone at Fort Rucker. They can call the appointment line, but they are encouraged to do it with their school during their summer camp. Now, if they have a disqualifying condition, they should be given a paper that explains what the workup they need should they come back home to Fort Rucker, and they're told, hey, this is the workup you need, and then their primary care provider can work from there.
That's great. And I know some cadets might change their mind and decide they want to become an aviator after advanced camp. I know some places will do flight physicals
right
for them, but I think it's important for them to know that they have to have a valid flight physical approved in the system before October.
Yes. That deadline is a serious deadline too. And please do not try to do that in September. Get it as soon as you realize that your goals have changed. Even if you don't feel like, hey, aviation isn't my top choice, just do your physical. Have it ready. Be prepared, like Boy Scouts.
In general, it's a little different here at Fort Rucker possibly than other places, but in general, what would you say is a realistic timeline for folks completing their flight physical?
From the time you book your appointment to the time you get it completed, I would say an average of about 4 to 6 weeks. Now, and that's just to get the main components of the physical completed. Now, if you have waivers, there may be outside resources that we depend on that can make that take a little bit longer. But the first step would be to call the 1-800-261-7193 to book that appointment. And you should do that the minute your birth month window opens.
Yes, and I think it's important to know because some of our listeners might be, as you mentioned, if you're new applicants that are going to be street to seat from high school right into flight school and or ROTC. And in your experience, have those taken a bit longer?
So new applicants can take longer because they are not in our pipeline and they're not a priority to get done by a certain time. And so, for example, if we know, hey, maybe you just PCS'd here and you didn't get your physical done, say your birth month's August, you didn't get your physical done in July at your previous duty station. Now we're time pressed to get it done by the end of August. So you're going to have priority over someone who did not. Whereas a brand new applicant, there is not a priority on our end to get you done by an application deadline. That priority would be placed on you.
Is there any records or paperwork that new applicants should gather to bring into their appointment?
So if you have a MEPS waiver or an accession waiver, a DOD-MERB waiver, those are sometimes documents we do not have in our medical record that you may want to bring with you to that appointment. Most medical records we have access to. Now, there may be something that you fill out when you're filling out your report of medical history that you will be asked during your interview portion that we ask you to bring in additional documents to. But about 80% of medical records are in your electronic health record and we have access to.
Perfect. You've brought up several times about approving flight physicals. I think it's important for our listeners to understand, especially those that it's their first time, that the flight surgeon is not the final approver. Is that correct?
That is correct. So there is a process. So you will start by booking an appointment. Your first part of your appointment is booked with a physical exams technician. They will take your history. You will fill out your paperwork. You will then process through a screening for vision. You can do a screening for hearing. Depending on the type of physical, if it's a short physical or a long physical, you may have lab work to do. You may have lab work that is your readiness lab work, like maybe your HIV, or you may have physical lab work. Then you will, if you do not pass screening for vision or hearing, you may have a visit with the audiologist or the optometrist. Then you will have a Part 2 appointment booked with a flight surgeon who will complete the head-to-toe assessment. During that Part 2, you will also complete your periodic health assessment, Part 2. The form is then completed. It's an electronic form. It's submitted electronically to the Aeromedical Authority where it's reviewed. The flight surgeon makes a recommendation on whether you're qualified or disqualified. The Aeromedical Authority actually is the qualifying body. So you may get an upslip or a downslip by your flight surgeon. It still may be disqualified or qualified at the Aeromedical Authority and sent back to that flight surgeon for a correction or more information. And so those actually, before the reviewer at AMA gets it, is coded. Any medical conditions are coded by a coder, and then they're reviewed by a reviewer.
I think that's great information for folks to have, especially new personnel. Personnel that are already on flight status will receive temporary duty upslips or while they're waiting on waivers. We get a lot of phone calls for our first-time flight physicals.
Because people feel like I went to the provider's office and they gave me a piece of paper, so I must be good, not realizing that 3 or 4 months later, you may get a call from that flight surgeon's office that, hey, we've had a little bit of a hiccup. We need you to come in and clarify a few things.
We've talked about RTC and walks, but there are folks that are at military academies, and they should be able to see the clinic that's closest to them for flight physicals. If not, they need to go find an Army flight surgeon or a clinic to do flight physicals, correct?
To my knowledge, all of the Army academies have flight surgeons that are integral to them.
Oh, perfect.
More than one.
Yes, they should. Again, just the October date is a hard date that cannot be changed. So I know some folks know they want to be pilots for their entire lives and will have their flight physical done before camp, but do not wait long. Could take up to 3 to 6 months to get approved.
Right. If you just watched Top Gun and said, hey, that life is for me, and you're not in a Navy Academy and you're at an Army Academy, you better get going.
As we wrap up for our first episode, what is the best advice you can give for future aviators planning their flight physical? I think you've said it several times during this, but...
Number one, know when your birthday is. No, really, it's to be open and honest in all of your medical history. Transparency is key. There are people you will encounter in your military career. They may be family members who will tell you, oh, you shouldn't tell your flight surgeon that because that's going to limit your flight career. Your flight surgeon is not your enemy. Your flight surgeon is probably your best advocate for your career-wise. If you have a condition that is flight limiting, your flight surgeon is going to be the one who can tell you the ways to mitigate risk and to fight for a waiver for you. To willfully not report conditions is the first step in making sure you don't have a flight career.
That's excellent information. And then thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem.
And until next time, this is Lyster Army Health Talks.
And that wraps up our first episode of our Aviation Medicine mini-series on Lyster Health Talks. Stay healthy, Fort Rucker.